Hello guys, hope you're all doing well. Today we're taking an updated look at the TTK discussion in the Battlefield 5 community. There's been a ton of negative feedback thrown at DICE and EA over the last couple of days about how the game plays now that the bullet damage has been reduced across the board, players taking more shots before they go down, and the game just feeling a bit spongier is a term that I would use. On top of this, general criticism about the way that DICE have handled this and implemented it. So DICE replied to the criticism yesterday with a post on Reddit, and it says the following: on behalf of the Battlefield team, we'd like to apologise for the silence over the past couple of days on the TTK topic. We've seen it's been a big talking point and causing a divide in the community, which was never our intention. We've been listening closely to what you've all been saying. Changes to the game carrying this kind of weight needs clearer, earlier communication before getting rolled out. We will improve how we roll out the updates in the future and respond more quickly when you have questions or concerns. So why change TTK now? The intent came from us observing that new players are having a very hard time with the game compared to our core players, and we wanted to see if we could improve this over the holidays so more players can have a great time. As many of our veteran players know, Battlefield games constantly evolve and change over time in our collaboration with the community. Battlefield 5 is no exception. We heard your feedback that many of you prefer the old TTK values, with one playlist featuring only Conquest using the core settings clearly not being enough. To fix that, we will be adding a core version of all playlists in the game next week, giving you a clearer choice between new and old settings. We'll update you early next week on when the new playlist will be added. We want to hear from you about the changes that we're making. We'd also like to thank all of you for the constructive discussions and feedback we're seeing. Thank you. End of post. Okay, I personally think this is awful. Honestly, the wording, the decisions being made to add more playlists, they're doing it wrong for a couple of reasons I'll try to explain now. So in the post, they're admitting here that the reason they're changing the time to kill and elongating it is to attempt to appease new players over the holiday period. So this is their theory: if new casual players survive longer, they will have more enjoyment of the game and therefore play it for longer. This results in a larger player base, potentially more sales through word of mouth, and more money generated from the casual crowd buying cosmetics when the real world money currency is eventually rolled out into the game. That's what I think they're going for here, and I think they're completely off target if it is. First of all, the gunplay, the quick time to kill, the more challenging nature of the game. I think gamers are getting more used to that nowadays, and I'd be confident in saying that this is one of, if not the most praised thing about BF5. That's why people who had left the franchise in the past came back to play this game again regularly. That's the way I see it from my experiences of playing the game, being on social media, YouTube comments, talking to friends, press reviews. The majority love that about this game. That's the game that we were sold and have been playing for the last month. And now that's been changed, and DICE have weirdly gone back in the Battlefield 1 direction with it. But why is all I'd ask. The overwhelming majority of players liked it how it was. Secondly, I talked about this a lot in my previous video, so I won't go on about it for long, but can you really say that the time to kill is the reason your data shows that new players are not logging back in? When there are netcode bugs, time to death issues, player visibility and awareness is bad, the myriad of bugs in the game, vaulting problems, getting stuck on geometry, V1 rockets bugging out, slow menus, long loading times, being unable to add new assignments in game, the list goes on. For veteran players, the legacy bugs, we're used to that stuff. It's sad, but we are, and we can deal with it. And I'd strongly argue that if I was a new player to the franchise and I'd experienced everything that I just mentioned, I wouldn't want to play the game either. And I wouldn't care how fast I was dying or killing people, that wouldn't even come into it. In fact, I've seen people who are new to the game saying that they like the quick time to kill. Look at the popular games nowadays: Fortnite, PUBG, Siege, CSGO, they've all got really fast time to kills. So why not focus on fixing the other incredibly annoying and broken aspects of the game first, before changing one of the things that players loved about it? Thirdly, who is this update really for? Well, we now know. It's for new players over the holidays. The problem with this is that you're completely alienating and turning away the active player base, the fans, the people who log back in and play the game every day. The Battlefield players who make the game tick. And by doing stuff like this and changing one of the main things that they applauded, no matter how big or small the change, they're going to go one by one and lose interest in the game, because this isn't the game that they were sold. They've been playing BF5 for a month, loving it, building muscle memory for the gunplay, working on their aim and tactics, and then out of nowhere, with no warning or debate, here's something different that you won't like. How does that look and feel to the players who like the game as it was, the active player base? It looks very bad. Fourthly, introducing more core playlists with the launch TTK is absolutely a terrible idea for a number of reasons. If you didn't know, when DICE changed the TTK, they also added a little playlist at the bottom here called Conquest Core. This is Conquest with the old TTK values, and in the newest post on Reddit, they were saying they now plan to add a core version of all playlists in the game next week. So why is this bad? To start with, it's confusing for new players. Imagine logging in and seeing that many playlists. What does core mean? What do I pick? This is too much choice. Next, what other game do you know, a AAA first-person shooter that has multiple time to kill values within the base game matchmaking options? See if you can name one that's popular nowadays. Again, this is ridiculous and confusing. You play one version of Conquest and your assault rifle takes down an enemy in 4 bullets, and then you play another version and it now takes 6 bullets. It's madness. Modern successful first-person shooters have consistency across the board, and that's what's popular. Having 2 TTK values is absurd, and it makes DICE look like they aren't really sure what they want, and they don't really know what they're doing. That's how it comes across. If you're going to change the TTK, just pick one and stick to your guns. More playlists also equals more division within the player base and longer matchmaking times. It's just an awful solution that won't work, so please don't do it. Fifth, if you want a healthy player base and if you want to make money out of cosmetics to make up for a lack of premium pass, you need to think about the long term, not just Christmas 2018. And you need a strong core audience that actually care about the game and will stick with it. If you neglect the active players, the real Battlefield fans who play the game every day, then they will leave, and they especially won't care to spend money on cosmetics. Let's look at Rainbow Six Siege as a perfect example of this. The game released over 3 years ago. When it came out, it wasn't that popular. But the developers stuck to their vision for the game, they released regular updates, they listened to community feedback, and now it's one of the most popular multiplayer games on a day-to-day basis, and they make a load of money out of the cosmetics and season pass. And guess what? The time to kill in Rainbow Six Siege is really quick. 1 bullet from any gun to the head will kill you in 1 hit. The active players care about the game because they like the gameplay, the cosmetics are cool, and they're willing to put down more money for it on in-game purchases. Do I see that happening with BF5? At the moment, not at all. The people who love the launch game are now going off it because of the TTK change, the bugs, and the cosmetic options are bland and uninspiring. In my opinion, the only decent vehicle skin in the game is the Last Tiger because it physically changes the look and feel of the tank. It looks awesome. The weapon skins, well, they're just the same for each weapon, nothing unique for individual guns, just the same skin applied to a different gun. If you want to sell cosmetics to the core audience, this needs way more thought and excitement injected into it. BF5 is a first-person game, so you should have a weapon inspect key. You should focus on custom animations that can be bought instead of just bland skins that no one is going to shell out real money for. Animations sell nowadays. Look at Fortnite. Give me a unique squad revive I can buy, or give me a unique takedown animation, or unique reloads that I can apply to my guns. Give me a skin for the fortifications I build, a design that I can put on the front of my V1 rocket. Yes, it's more work and more expense for the dev team, but it's the only way that you're going to make money out of cosmetics in this game. And I'm just spitballing here, but why not have voice packs by Battlefield friends that I can buy? Or if I get best squad, I can choose a song from the soundtrack to be played that everyone can hear in the best squad menu. Give me a song like Solomon's theme from BF3 or the 1942 main theme if I'm feeling nostalgic. It just needs to be more fun. And if the core audience isn't there, you won't make any money off it. EA know that as well, because loot boxes are falling out of favour with gamers and with the lore, so you're going to need to adapt and become more imaginative. And that's all I've got. As I said in the previous video, I feel like the TTK change is really weird, unnecessary, and it doesn't make any sense with the overall design philosophy that DICE built for this game. The overwhelming majority of players liked it how it was and were playing the game regularly, and changing it for the holiday season is not a good move, and it won't achieve the objective I think DICE and EA are going for. You can feel the difference in the game, more so with certain weapons than others, and if DICE want to keep this slower TTK, they need to individually retune all of the guns, because some of them just don't make sense now and are useless. Does it completely ruin the game? No, it doesn't. Of course, it's still playable and fun, but I'd argue that it isn't as fun now, and most of the active player base would agree with that. Like I said, this is not the game that they were sold. I think that the best thing DICE and EA could do now is to revert back to the old TTK before they break up for the holidays, which is by the end of next week. Otherwise, they're going to have a lot of unhappy players who will ditch the game, make a racket on social media, and won't be bothered to wait 3 weeks until normal working hours resume. And they certainly won't be spending any money on cosmetics. And if I recall correctly, there was no client patch for this time to kill change either. It just suddenly happened. So it seems like DICE can adjust the values server side. So in theory, they could just switch them back if they wanted to without having to deploy a patch. I would love to see that with a big announcement, and I think it would be the right call. So right now, if I was in charge at DICE, as soon as possible, I would switch back to the old TTK values, get rid of the separate playlists and make a post saying, hey, we're sorry, we messed up, and focus in the new year on fixing all of the other gameplay bugs, time to death issues, netcode problems first before blanket changing the bullet damage that players loved. Once that was all in a good place, I'd start working on new content, and if DICE still want to look at changing the TTK in the future, then I'd run a test. A single playlist that's called experimental in a different submenu of the game with the new slower TTK values that are individually tuned for each weapon, and make a call for action to people to play on it if they want to as an optional thing, so they can gather data and get feedback on it that way without affecting the main player base. Or if they need mass data to test this kind of thing, then make an announcement and say, hey, for 4 hours on this specific date and time, we're going to change the game to the new TTK values, and then we will change it back. And you guys can let us know what you think, and they can get all the data they need. But what DICE did here was not the right call, and I think it needed way better communication and explanation before it was implemented. I think someone high up from EA needs to take a look at this and what happened here as a good example of how to annoy your active player base and hopefully avoid it in the future if they want this game to be a long-term success and to generate more revenue. BF5 does not need any more controversies. The gameplay was good. It just needs more content and bug fixes. Ultimately, I don't think the TTK change is what the majority of players wanted, and it won't work in getting new players to stay. That's my opinion. So there we have it. Do let me know your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, give me a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.